I'm building a new synth, or actually not building a new synth, but combining older previous example synth into one instead of have multiple things doing almost the same. I decided to have one to work more on instead. So let's have a little. Okay, why do I have to do this? Unfortunately, terminate, start, drag it in. And let's see. It is a quite simple synth actually. It has 2 oscillators and 2 resonators, a filter and an envelope, and that's more or less it. But it has you can feedback things between all of these 4 kind of main parts or modules or whatever. And you can modulate it, ring modulation, phase and frequency modulation, and anything, various things. And you can resonate it and then feed another oscillator or back and forth as much as you want with a up to depending on the order they're calculated and what how you're feeding back. 0 or 1 sample delay in this loop. So everything here is calculated per sample. So it's not very efficient at the moment. But it's more like a prototype. But it already have a lot of the, what should I say, needed or wanted features. Let's see here. It has a bunch of clap things like parameter module, indication, remote controls. It is multithreaded. Has voice stacking. It has see, I have had little short notes here. Note expression, so I read a little bit here. With sample accurate automation, it has that's mainly it. It has a GUI, of course, scalable GPU accelerated OpenGL GUI, which is really nice. It's smooth and nice. It has stats, and also there is a VST3 wrapper, but I decided to not include it yet because I want to get more reports about the foundation, the stability of the foundation before I add the wrappers on top of it. Because I have wrappers for a bunch of other formats like VC2, VC3, LV2, LUDSPA, DSSI, and standalone executable. I can lay on top of the clap plugin. And also there is a Windows version which more or less works, but there is some, I think it's VSync or buffer flush related, but it more or less everything works, but except a few things. So I decided to focus on this Linux clap version, mainly first to get this, and when I feel more comfortable about it, I would post other things with other wrappers and formats and stuff. But the plugin itself, the synth itself, it is clap, as I said, as I mentioned, it's very early, it's a prototype. Let me drag the new one, so I touched the filter. I said the 2 oscillators, 2 resonators, and there is feedback with the inputs here on the different modulation types. And there's a resonator which also can take feedback from noise or the input on others. And there's a filter with a bunch of types, and then simple analog-ish envelope and the global volume. And let me get this to see what's going on. So the oscillator is quite simple. It starts out as a Sophus. Let me move a little bit. As you can see it. Oh, no, I turned on this one. So you see it. You can morph it or crossfade it, or actually it's more like morphing because to a square wave instead. And as soon as you have a square wave, you have this width, pulse width. Additionally, and you can also have it half wave and still wave. And you could let me see, you can the 3, it says 3, but actually it turns into more like a parabola shape. Or actually it turns the sawtooth into a parabola, and it turns the pulse width into a triangle. And all of them have this width in control. It is very soft. And finally, no matter how you turn these other knobs, you can crossfade this one over to a sine wave, kind of smooth it out a little bit. So it's not a filter, of course, and it aliases. There's lots of aliasing, but I don't think there's no oversampling or anything yet. Just some basic anti-aliasing in the oscillators, but that's everything. So that will be added later. But anyway, that's you can create quite a few interesting noises and sounds with it already. And just basics. Let me reset thing. And also you have pitch, of course, and unusual pitching. And all of these controls are modulatable, by the way, so you can have LFOs and anything going on. That's the oscillator. Additionally, you could modulate the oscillators with another signal coming from different places, like the outputs of any of these, or audio input, but that is not implemented yet, but will, because I need to have some shaping first, some filtering first, or noise. So you could, for example, okay, let's listen to oscillator 2 instead of 1, and then modulate oscillator 2 with oscillator 1. And when it comes to modulation, it's pretty what should I say now? Usually best maybe to start with sine waves, because the frequencies and the harmonics and everything can really quickly get out of control if you do saw and square waves. But there is some possibilities, but anyway, we can modulate it with the oscillator. Now we are listening to oscillator 2. And then we can, for example, ring modulate it by oscillator 1, but to make it a little bit interesting, we pitch it up an octave. So, and then we use input oscillator 1, and then amount. You see now it is the ring modulated version of it. And we can, of course, so it depends. You can focus on it. Let me see. Different, or you could let me see sine wave-ish it again. You could have amplitude modulation, which is more or less the same, but uses absolute values here and there instead. But I think the most interesting when you start to modulate all these inputs and output parameters, of course. So that's the most, or another modulation is phase modulation, but this one has, or phase distortion, someone call it. I will be a little bit careful, because this is very quickly going to noise territories. You see, they are singing like extremely high. A lot of these settings here is meant for feeding into the resonator, so alone they might be overkill, but typical FM-ish sound. And then you have frequency modulation, which is a little kind of the same thing, but instead of modifying the phase of the waveform directly, we are modifying the phase adder. You can call it the speed. The phase is increasing, so kind of more accelerating than actually directly setting the speed of the phase or kind of stuff. So it sounds a little bit different. Obviously, there's some decibel yet, smoothing it, because I want to add. I also have all these note expressions which also come into play. For example, in the pitch, we have note expressions, we have polyphonic modulation, we have automation, and all of these should be kind of smoother together. So I haven't added it before until I know exactly what kind of parameters and everything. So that's another one, and the last one is this max, which is just a maximum value of the inputs and the oscillator itself. So you can see here it kind of started getting a bit warm, a lot of aliasing. So this we probably want to filter a bit some of it. Especially when you feed it to the resonators, it can be interesting. And also, of course, let me get to this back to, let's say, frequency modulation again. Interesting, now you can feed back into oscillator 1, for example, and set this to frequency modulation 2, but the modulator from oscillator 1, and we get wild. So I'm not sure how interesting, but started getting into bell territories. So a lot, but then phase modulation. So you can make weird sounds, and also modulated with noise, for example. Now we can have to be. This is why I should have some kind of smoothing, so I can smooth this out much more. But anyway, this is so you can crossfade anything back and forth as much as you want. But let me take in a fresh new one. A safe, kind of a safe. The resonators, the parts here. Let's see. I get a bit more of them. Let's just listen to one of them. Resonator 1. So it emerges sounds like very thin, stringish. So it's actually a delay line tuned exactly to one cycle length or one cycle of the same pitch as on the oscillators. So but the first round it kind of fills in this delay line buffer with in this case noise. Let me zoom it. In this case noise. It's nothing. And then after it wraps around, it starts kind of looping this waveform. But during each loop, it can feed back a certain amount of the sound, so it kind of fades down. Or you could filter it, so it kind of dies out a little bit more naturally. Let me hear it. And they call the same tuning. So it's still just pure noise coming into it. But you can also feed an oscillator because this is very thin. So now you also feed this oscillator 1 at this one. You feed the first cycle right into it. Give a little bit more feedback maybe. And then of course you can start, now you can modify this to a square, to a little bit squarish, or you could start with frequency modulating with noise. Can't you? No, you can actually feed this into it. But you only feed the first cycle, and then this loop, so you get it cyclic. So now it's only oscillator 1, for example. Let's see here. So you could shape it quite. This these are not calibrated properly either. So the most interesting part is here. Very seldom you want to have these kind of the same thing here. This gain, I thought about having some kind of saturation thing, but it quickly turned into a feedback square wave anyway, if I did more than 1 point. So it kind of, if I boost it up. So I need to do a little bit different thinking. Probably impulse shaping, or I hear filtered input, by the way, to the, if we feed noise into it. It's very ticky. Tick, tick, tick. So can maybe you want to fade off this a little bit. So I want to do something more with the impulse, like having a continuous input, for example, so you can have more like a blowing flute-ish sound, like into it, for example, or repeatedly triggering it, like a bow would probably do in a string. And also interesting, of course, is this note expressions. I only care about the pitch tuning at the moment, which means I can just maybe still can sounds nicer with lots of reverb on it. So, okay, so that is a resonator, and I have two of them, and I can still crossfade back and forth between anything. For example, now this resonator here could, for example, modulate another oscillator instead. So if we now listen to oscillator 2, it's sine wave, and modulate this one with the resonator output here. For example, phase modulated, for example, resonator 1, and that one. And then, of course, we could have oscillator 2 and feed it into resonator 2. And listening to that one, I mean, it sound like this. That's because it only takes the first. That's all different. The different random numbers all time. And you usually want to probably boost it a little bit, and not always control. It still works. Let's see. Nothing works. And then you can start listening. What I would do actually have a first oscillator. Resonator 1 doing? What? Oh. And you can have a 50. And you have a bunch of different features from band pass with them. And high pass. And of course, all these can be modulated, so you can add, for example, let's say this one can modulate a little bit. We can add it, for example. Let's see here, and then I want this to be polyphonic. Let's see, and then a little bit. And they are all different. So that's a polyphonic modulation. If you have monophonic, this would sound like this instead. And if you have slow, you notice it. If you have polyphonic instead, they are. And the envelope is in the end here. Let's grab in a fresh one again, which sometimes is get a bit out of hand. That's a typical quite long. But the nice thing with clap is you can modulate this even when I have no keyboard. Even this fade off phase. I think VST3 kind of lose connection with all other plugin formats. I think loses connection with the note as soon as you note it, because you know you don't have a note now to control it. That I'm not sure about that, so maybe I'm completely wrong, but anyway, that's almost automatic with clap. So, but anyway, that's what Mr. talking nonsense. So that's the kind of synth. What it would be interesting, it's A, does it actually works on the computers than my own? B, it would be nice to hear thoughts about it, ideas, things that could be done better, things that doesn't work at all, things that is totally missing, or totally things that could be evolved and even better, or different more modulations or combination algorithms, ways to handle these resonators, and especially, as you can see, probably the GUI. This is not the way I am dreaming about, but that's the kind of limit of my personal aesthetic sense, maybe. So it would be real nice to be even just having some kind of input. And also the VST3 version I can check quite easily myself, because but the Windows version I can only run that one through Wine in Linux, and I can never be sure that it actually works on proper Windows, because for all I know, maybe Wine do something differently just to kind of emulate it, and it do some safeguarding or whatever. I never know, because but at the moment the Windows versions is more like identical, except that there's more flashing in the updating. For example, when I resize the window, it flashes, so there's obviously some flushing or VSync thing going on. But apart from that, I think it should be more or less ready. But again, it could be nice to talk with people that know Windows in-depth thing a little bit more. But is that's, as you can see, 0.0.1. So, and effects, I haven't thought about effects much, except that I want to have some effects in. But again, since this is very clap specific, I'm not sure if there's actually any points in having effects internally in synth, unless you can use it in up here. So I'm thinking about having some kind of input where you could actually modulate it with the total output of the voice, including the effects and filtering and envelope and everything. For example, if you had a delay going ding ding ding, then you can have modulation of wow 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 wow. For example, in different ways than a typical ways of doing the modulation and resonator feedback and all that kind of stuff. But I'm going to try out a lot of it. Another thing, I want to have more wave shaping, the oscillator here, and the resonator at probably the impulse. Instead of just one cycle, you can maybe longer, shorter, shape it up a little bit. I currently just a simple filter, and a volume. Could of course add a complete modulation section, but I hope not to actually. I hope to kind of focus on clap. For because maybe clap, very simple. For example, if you want a filter envelope, and then you just add in a simple ADS bar, for example. Set it to polyphonic, and this we want this one here. So you just modulate it. I think you have to. It's faster. It's 40 voices, a long release time. So for example, so you can do that with every controller. I mean, if you want, for example, this where are they? The listing to state one. This one, for example, then you just add in another info. And set it to poly if you want poly, or you could just have it monophonic, of course, if you want to. For example, this one here. So you just modulate it, and it's slower. Or faster. And another thing, but I let grab in a fresh one again. I like to have it. Another interesting thing is the voice stacking. You could, for example, have it, let's set it 5 voices, and now it's just getting louder because it's 5 identical voices playing. You see it. You see it if I zoom. It's playing voices here. All of 5. So it's a higher volume, but what we can do is to spread them out a little. For example, tuning, for example, is always nice things to modulate. What it's doing is modulating a little bit different for each of these 5 voices. So what's happening is like this kind of stuff instead. But now this because this thing is because they are I'm not really sure I haven't gone into it. Oh, it's hundreds of voices. So it's 5, so the voice count is going up really rapidly. Let me see if I have power save on the additional, so and I have OBS running, so it the voices that actually is surprising. 80. Let's try to set it to performance just to see the difference. Oh, the spike, I don't like the spikes. 150. But I have to have a more just release actually. So around 200 voices. Even with the voice stacking and polyphonic modulation and everything. So we are not in immediate danger territory, at least. But let me get back. I don't like my fan blowing up in RPM. So, but that's the main thing, I think. I will work a lot on it, of course. I will need some configuration stuff and info stuff for copyrights and licensing and stuff. For example, I want to be able to turn on and off the threading, the OpenGL GUI, so I could have software or GPU rendering. But that is a little bit, I have to do some internal stuff before that's possible. And all bit by bit I will be expanding. So let's see how it goes. Anyway, this is very early, so anyway, I will post it somewhere and post both a binary and whatever in a while. So that's it. I think Until next time.